Thank you, worship team. I'm so glad that we were able to sing what we just sang tonight. I think that what a powerful declaration that we started the night with. Christ be magnified. What an idea for 2023 for Christ to truly be magnified in everything that we do and everything that we say. And I'm really excited for so many different things that we are launching into this year as a team, as our intern team, as our staff team. There's so much to be excited about because of how good our God really is. And as Jake and Jenna alluded to it earlier, and Anna Claire put the video together that we started tonight with, is this idea this semester that we would steer fully into our new identity as a daughter or as a son of God. And I think that statement has often been said around church in a merely comforting way, that though you have been through some difficult things, God calls you daughter or God calls you son. It's a really, really high invitation statement. And the thing this semester that we are going headfirst into starting tonight, I hope you brought a journal because I want to put a lot of stuff in front of you tonight that I hope that you'll take with you and consider at home or in your dorm or maybe even in class. Don't tell them I told you that. But there's a lot of things that I want to put in front of you because the invitation to be a daughter, the invitation to be a son of God is also a really, really high challenge invitation. It's going to require some things of you. And tonight we're laying the foundation for what we are going to build upon for the rest of the semester. We're doing a dating series this semester. We're going to talk about how many times in the Bible it says, be not afraid. We're going to talk about drama in your friendships. We're going to talk about the Sermon on the Mount. We're going to talk about what happened at Calvary. But we're starting this semester with a series called Freed to Fight. So if you keep a journal, the next 3 weeks are all the heading on those pages can be freed to fight. And I want to take you in your Bible to 1 John chapter 3. If you do not have a Bible, please do not leave here without one tonight. We will give you one for free. We believe the Bible to be God's current modern day revelation to us as to what he is up to in the world, what he has been up to since the very, very beginning when he created humanity and he created the world. 1 John chapter 3 is one of John's several different letters, and I love the way that he begins his letter. It actually kind of lays the foundation for us for what does it look like for us to steer into our new identity with God as our loving Father. 1 John chapter 3, he says this in verse 1, see what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. And that is what we are. And the reason that the world does not know us is that it did not know him. So don't be surprised when the way of Jesus calls you in a direction that's not common in the world today. But rest assured, wherever you go, Jesus follower, you are a daughter and you are a son of God. Which is why the first series is called Freed to Fight. Because I would believe, and our team would believe, and our church would believe, that you have actually been freed from the challenge of acquiring ultimate victory to fight for your present day, everyday, ordinary life right where you live. Jesus has claimed victory for you. He came to earth for you, and he declared victory over the darkness and over the evil that we know, without a shadow of a doubt, exists in our world today. You have been freed from that pursuit of ultimate victory, but there has been a fight that has been given to you. And C.S. Lewis would say it like this, and I love the way that he articulates this explanation as to what the world is. He says, enemy-occupied territory, that is what the world is. Christianity, following Jesus, is the story of how the rightful king, the king that deserves to be on the throne, has landed, and you might say landed in disguise because no one recognized him, and is calling all of us to take part in a great campaign of sabotage. What a picture. If you're a Jesus follower in the room, that's so true for you. You've been invited on a great campaign of sabotage, of evil, and sin and darkness in the world. And guess what? If God calls you to do it, no one can stop you, because God has a divine calling from heaven on your life. And part of it is being fundamentally different in the world that we live in. For those of you that are in the room or watching online right now that would say, hey, Carson, I'm not a Jesus follower. I'm not a Christian. I grew up in another system of faith, or I didn't grow up in church, and I'm actually kind of turned off to the idea of church. I mean this from the deepest part of who I am. I am so proud of you for being here tonight. That's not a consolation prize. I genuinely mean that. I hope that you will find this place to be a place where you can belong and where you can be at home. I believe that God loves you. I do not believe that God is disgusted with you no matter what you have done, no matter what you are doing. I believe God is absolutely madly in love with you and wants you to live a life and life to the full. And if you're looking for a Bible verse to back that up, that would be John chapter 10, verse 10. And I am so glad that you are here tonight. And I hope that one day we'll be able to meet and we'll be able to talk about what has led you to where you are. And for all of my Jesus follower friends in the room, I hope that you're ready to buckle your seatbelt this semester, because I'm not going to go easy on you, because there is so much at stake for you. There is so much for you to do in the world in joining what C.S. Lewis identified as the great sabotage of the enemy's plan to steal, kill, and destroy life on earth as we know it. And I think that there are a lot of different kind of views of faith that are growing and mounting up in our world today. And over the Christmas break, when I was pretty sad that you guys were away for the most part, I dug into a lot of different research, and one of the books that I read is called Soul Searching, and it's actually a research project that was done all across the United States into what does this generation, this up-and-coming generation, I'm 26 years old, so I would not remove myself from your generation necessarily. What does our generation that goes to a evangelical Christian church, such as our church here at Port City, what do they believe? What is the growing sentiment about belief? And they surveyed 3,000 people across the country, and then they actually traveled around the country. They surveyed 3,000 people digitally, and then they went and met with 247 people directly in person, met with their parent, met with their pastor, and met with them, and asked them some deeper questions to begin to examine what is the condition of faith in the United States of America. And they wrote this fascinating book on it, and I'm not going to bore you with all the details of the book, but they coined a term out of their research. And it reveals a couple really, really important things for all of the Jesus followers and all of the Christians for you to sit on the edge of your seat and for you to really pay attention to. But before we put it on the screen and before I talk about 7 big things that I want you to know before you go a step further in 2023, I want you to know this. I love you and I'm for you. And I love you enough to be honest with you. I love you enough to not leave you where you are. I believe that there is a better version of life for us. There's a better version of faith than sometimes churches talk about or preachers like me talk about. So here's the term. It's moralistic therapeutic deism. Quite a mouthful. They took a couple words and they changed them a little bit to kind of fit their idea. It's really there's 3 big ideas, and this is me trying to sum up the entire book in 3 points. So if you ever go back and read the book, please forgive me if I have missed a couple of important parts. But the first idea, moralistic, is this idea that we believe faith is about being a good and moral person, and that life is about being good and happy. And then the therapeutic part of it is leading us in this direction, or our generation would widely accept that faith is really only a means to feel better about ourselves because of what we get from God. And this third idea is that God is real, but he is distant and he doesn't really care what we do. That's the growing kind of sentiment of faith in our country right now. And there's a far, far better version. I would submit there's actually a version that's true. That's not it. We can't settle for that. If we settle for that kind of faith, if we settle for that kind of view of God, we are going to come up short every single time, because God is asking something from us for us. Because he is the author of all creation. He knows what the original intent was. He knows how we are supposed to live. So there's 7 things that don't have well, 6 of them don't have quite a direct connection to the message today. But there's 7 things that I want you to know without going another step forward into 2023. And these are things that I want to slide across the table from you. Maybe you don't quite agree with them right now. That's perfectly okay. I would love to talk about it with you. I'm serious. I would love to talk down front about it even tonight. The first thing is this. The only lasting relief to the pain that you are experiencing is proximity to Jesus. The only lasting relief, the only thing that is going to make it all throughout your life, that will suffice to begin to heal you from the pain that you feel, whether that's pain from your childhood, whether that's pain from a traumatic event, maybe that's pain from the breakup that happened over Christmas break, maybe it's the pain that you feel and when you think about your grades and you think about your performance and you think about your relationship with your parents. The only remedy to that is proximity to Jesus. And I love you enough to be really honest with you. Drugs aren't gonna do it. Porn is not gonna do it. Masturbation is not gonna do it. Getting married is not gonna do it. Having sex every day is not going to do it. The only relief to the pain that you feel, that is going to last, that is going to survive with you your entire life, is proximity to Jesus. This is essential for you and for me to understand. The second idea is your sin doesn't define you, but it is costing you something. It does not have authority over your life, despite some people's opinion. It does not have authority over your life. We're actually gonna talk about that in just a moment. But I guarantee you it's costing you something. That little habit, that little thing that you do, the way that you talk about them, the way that you treat your parents, the way that you conduct yourself when no one else is looking, it's costing you something. It's costing you some freedom. It's costing you hope. It might be costing you proximity with Jesus. Third thing, what has been must stop determining where you are going. I know so many people that are in this room, watching online, so many friends of mine, and I know this is true for me. What I have done back there wants to call all the shots as to where I'm going. 2023, it's time. It's time for that to stop being your reality. What has been has got to stop determining where you are going. You are made for way more than living life looking in the rearview mirror. God wants you looking forward to doing life with him for the world. I think that when we think about this, it's so easy to really, really feel like we're defined by what has been, whether it was our fault or not. But the life lived with Jesus actually would show you and would reveal that you are not a victim of anything. You are a victor in the house of God. That God has come so that you would have life and life to the full. Remember this from the very beginning. That means you get to shed whatever has been for the sake of where God is leading you to. The next thing is this, is the only relationship that will fill the void of loneliness in your life is a relationship with Jesus. The only one. I know some of you you're really, really ready to date somebody. Like I said, we're gonna do a whole series on dating this semester. But you're really ready to find the one in 8 billion to settle down and have your kids with and move on with life. You're ready to kind of be done with college, or maybe you're just looking for somebody to do college with in close proximity. Maybe you're just looking for somebody to hook up with. I don't know what you're looking for, but I do know this. The gap of loneliness in your life is only going to be truly filled up when you learn to walk with Jesus every single day of your life. The next thing is this, is what is enjoyable or comfortable is not always synonymous with what is good and what is true. Just because something is comfortable, just because you like to do something, does not make it good. It does not make it true. Because God has ordained a very, very specific way, a specific pathway for you and for me to live within that helps us live within the victory that Jesus came to give us. Which leads me to this idea. God's truth is superior to your truth. The truth that God gives us in the life of Jesus, in the death and burial and resurrection of Jesus, the truth that God gives us in the context of the Bible, it's superior to our version of what's good and what's true in the world. And I know some of you are like, bro, you have absolutely lost your mind right now. Because we live in the world of our truth. And yes, you have experiences, and yes, you have feelings, and yes, you have struggles, and yes, you have things that are happening in your mind that are incredibly complex, and you don't feel like anybody else understands them. And here's what I want you to hear me say. If you don't hear me say anything else tonight, God sees you where you are. He empathizes with you as he walked in human skin and felt the human experience, and he still has a better way of life for you. How loving would it be if God said, I love you, and you can just keep doing the thing that's hurting you? That would be hatred. But God loves you enough to say, hey, psst, over here. And I'm actually gonna come get you. I'm gonna walk with you. Even as you take a step back, even as you fail a time or two, I'm staying with you because arriving really, really matters. Final thing is this, is the life that you were made for is found within your willingness to surrender and your determination to fight. And yes, that is a paradox. Your willingness to surrender and your determination to fight. The whole entire message tonight is pulling apart what does it look like to surrender to your new identity and to pick up your sword and fight for your life. Because God has something directly for you, but it's going to require a fight. And for all of you that asked me before the gathering started and have been thinking about it for the past 15 minutes, what is the door doing on the stage? I like doors. I don't really know why. I've been dreaming about this since middle of December. I texted Jacob on our production team. I said, what are the chances that I could have a door on stage with me in January? And he said, oh yeah, sure, no problem. So thank you for Jacob Turner, Grossman, and Blizz for the people who put this together. It's actually the second door I bought. I didn't like the first door that I bought, so I took it back and I got this one. Long story, but the visual that I have for this is that the doorway represents the new year that you and I are embarking on. It represents every day when we wake up in bed, beginning to kind of tackle the day ahead of us. It's a new opportunity, but we don't know what's on the other side of it. And no, there's nothing sketchy on the other side of it. But you get the point. That the doorway kind of represents like, okay, if I walk up to a new opportunity, if I walk up to a new way of living, if I walk up to a new truth of God, I kind of like, I open the door and I peek through and I'm like, is this worth it? No, God's asking too much. No. No, there's dust raining down. No, there's no way. There's no way, God. I'm good. Like, and it's like for you and for me, a lot of times it's like Tuesday nights and Sunday nights, or when you peek through the door, you're like, God, are you there? Okay, you're there. Yeah. We'll talk soon. I want to go do that thing. Okay, goodbye. And you shut the door. Some of you think about this and it's like, there's no way God's on the other side of that door. There's no way that God's on the other side of the opportunity that I'm facing because of what I've done or because of the things that I believe or the things that I struggle with or the things that go on in my mind. And the truth is that we've got to begin to surrender what we think to be true for a better version, for a superior reality. That no matter where you are, when you get up in the morning or when you start a new year or when you start a new class, when you start a new job, on the other side of that new beginning, God is always there asking for the keys to your life. He's never not been there. So if you've got your Bibles, jump back to 1 John chapter 3 to continue to pull this apart. We're going to read it all the way through really, really quick to pull apart these ideas of surrender and discipline. So, 1 John chapter 3, see what great love the Father has lavished on us that we should be called children of God, and that is what we are. And the reason the world does not know us is that we did not know him. Question I have for all of you Jesus followers in the room, does the world know you? Do you look like the world? Meaning, do you talk like the world? Do you act like the world? Do you treat people like the world treats them? Or do you look more and more like Jesus every day? Are compassion and grace on the forefront of your conversation? Is living a distinct and separated, set-apart life at the forefront of your priority list? He goes on, he says, dear friends, now we are children of God, and what we will be has not yet been made known, but we know that when Christ appears, we shall be like him. For we shall see him as he is, and all who have this hope in him purify yourselves just as he is pure. That's this idea that we've got to surrender our expectation. We've got to purify ourselves in the way of Jesus. A lot of us have a version of faith like the moralistic therapeutic deism idea. We've got our life, but we don't want to surrender it. We have our narrative and the things that we believe. We want to hold on to them. We want God too, because we want to feel better about ourselves. Because if God loves us and God calls us a daughter and God calls us a son, then that sounds pretty good. That's really, really helpful. But I want to keep doing what I want to do. And John's saying, no. Like, you've got to remember, because you are a child of God, one, the world's not going to recognize you. And two, you don't know what the ending looks like, but you're trusting what the ending looks like to Jesus. And you've got to purify yourself. You've got to allow yourself to be aligned in the way of Jesus. We've got to surrender what our idea of faith looks like to Jesus and to the truth of the scripture. It goes on, in verse 4, he says, everyone who sins breaks the law. And in fact, sin is lawlessness. I love this declaration because oftentimes we think about sin and we have so many different ideas about what sin is. But sin really, really is the transfer of authority from God to you as to what is good and what is true. And I think that when we think about lawlessness and the comparison of sin truly is like when you just take all the guards off. You can just do whatever. And we know if you look at history, the cultures and the sections of society, that they just took all the laws off, they just took all the borders off. What happened? Ruin and destruction. I think sin as lawlessness is such a helpful picture, and I think John knows that because of what comes next as he continues to go on. He says, but you know that he appeared so that he might take away our sins, and in him is no sin, and no one lives in him that keeps on sinning. No one who continues to sin has either seen him or known him. And dear children, do not let anyone lead you astray. I love this warning. There's so many different narratives. There's so many different versions of truth. And he's saying, no, not for you. You know the truth. You know the way. You know where you're going to get life. Don't get distracted. Stay the course. The one who does what is sinful is of the devil, because the devil has been sinning from the very beginning. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the devil's work. And I think this is so critically important because it recognizes the reality that there's a force in the world that is actively working to distract you, to pull you away. If you're going to live in your new identity, it's going to require a fight. If you're going to live life as a daughter and a son of God, it's going to require a fight every day with every opportunity. In other words, every time that you open the door to something new, every time you think about a habit or a pattern in your life, every time your hand goes to the doorknob of the new opportunity, it's going to require you to fight, to replace what your version of truth, your version of what is good, with the Lord's, with our Creator God's version of truth. And I love Harriet Tubman for so many different reasons, and she's such a pillar in our country's history. And when you look at her story of being born into slavery and then eventually through a crazy set of circumstances comes out of slavery and she moves to a location where she's free, and she thinks about all the people that are kept back in slavery, and she begins to contribute as a part of the Underground Railroad. And research would suggest that we know for a fact that she pulled 70 people out of slavery single-handedly. And I actually read a report that said that she carried actually a gun with her, one to fend off people that were coming near her and the people that she was rescuing, but also to when people wanted to give up, when people were getting really, really scared, it was her way of saying, no, you're coming with me. Like, there's something better for you on the other side of this. You can escape slavery and you can get to freedom. You just have to trust me because I've been down the pathway before. And I love, this is what she said: if you hear the dogs, keep going. If you see the torches in the woods, you keep going. If there's shouting after you, you keep going. Do not ever stop. Keep going. If you want a taste of freedom, keep going. Look at the person beside you and say, keep going. Keep going. You can say it louder. It's not like you don't believe it, people. Keep going. Because here's the reality. You need what just happened. They needed Harriet, the people that were escaping with her. They needed somebody that had gone ahead of them, that knew the way to say, no, you've got to keep going. It's worth it. Which is what my dream for Overflow is this semester. For us to see the daughter and the son and the people sitting beside us and the people in community group with us, and for us to constantly look at them and say, keep going. Because here's the other reality that the people that were following Harriet knew. They knew that she was fighting for them. And when you're being fought for, it changes the way that you fight. You are most confident to fight when you know that you have been fought for. It's fundamental. You're the most equipped, you're the most encouraged, you're the most resourced to fight when you know without a shadow of a doubt that you have been fought for. When I was in middle school, through a crazy turn of circumstances, a couple of people started coming after me. There's a lot of details, and I don't really want to share them all, but the point stands that I was scared, and I didn't know what to do, and I was really, really nervous about what the outcome was going to look like. I was all like in 6th or 7th grade, and I went to some friends of mine that were like parents to me, Ben and Kim, and I said, Ben and Kim, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this is happening. I don't know why they're coming after me, but they showed up here, they showed up there. Like, what do I do? And they said, enough is enough. I've got it now. They reached out, they communicated, they handled the situation. They said, Carson, you never speak with them again. You never go near them again. I have said everything that needs to be said. You are safe. You are protected. That is what Jesus did for you. He came to the world and said, I've got it. I'm getting in the gap. I'm fighting for you so that you can fight for your life with everything that you have. Read it. 1 John chapter 3. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the devil's work, to destroy the power of evil and darkness in the world. Jesus trampled on the enemy's head and said, it is finished. Death doesn't get the last word anymore. Sin doesn't get the last word anymore because Jesus said it is done. But in the gap, in between where we are today and the end of our life and the transition from earth to our heavenly bodies, we have a fight on our hands, and we are most confident to fight for ourselves when we know that we have been fought for. And Hebrews chapter 12, if you have your Bible, I'd encourage you to turn there, is one of the best places, I believe, in the Bible. It's one of the best pathways of instruction as to how you and I are to follow Jesus and to fight with everything that we have for our life. In Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1, it says this, therefore, Since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off, not gently set down, not think about getting rid of. No, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. I love that the word easily made it into our modern translation of the Bible. It's so encouraging that when you mess up, when you struggle with a sin, when you struggle with a difficult area of your life, it's easy to struggle. It's easy to sin. I think everybody in this room that would consider yourself a Jesus follower would attest to the fact that it's often far easier to sin than it is to not. It's far easier to look at that thing or to look at that person in that way than it is to look away or to put your phone down at night. It's so easier to lie when you're in a difficult situation than it is to tell the truth when it costs you something. I love that easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance, or some translations would say endurance, the race marked out before us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and the protector or the perfecter of our faith. And I think this is where the door comes back into play. Leave this slide up there, please. Sorry. That was on me. That was on me. I got to it late. Right there. Because you can go back one more. Sorry, Josh. I'm really, really sorry. And let us run with perseverance, the race marked out before us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and the perfecter of our faith. It's saying, the writer of Hebrews to the Jewish community is saying, you've got to stay locked in. With every new opportunity, with every new season of your life, with every single day. Lamentations chapter 3, a book of lament in our Bible. His mercies are new every morning. In other words, your opportunity to put your eyes solely on Jesus happen every single day. And I would submit, with the way that we process information and the way that we scroll through Instagram and TikTok, the amount of information that is presented to us on a daily basis, there are thousands of opportunities for you and I to say, when I look at my future, when I look at the person that I'm becoming, when I look at the activity that fills my life, I'm only going to look at the doorway that leads me to proximity with Jesus, because there is no better doorway. There is no better place for me to be. It's devotion. It's you and I saying, I'm gonna be loyal to Jesus because he has been so loyal to me. So what would it look like for you to think about your life and to think about the opportunities that are in your future as a doorway that you're greeted with multiple times a day? For you to say, I'm writing on the doorway of my life, I'm going to be a devoted person. I'm going to value devotion with Jesus. I'm going to stay loyal because what he knows is best. Because what he has for me is best. Because I want life and life to the full right here, right now, living in his kingdom, because there is no better place to be. The writer of Hebrews goes on and he says, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down in the right hand of the throne of God. And he says, consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. I love this invitation because it causes us to look at the perfection and the power of Jesus. Consider him. When he saw the cross, when he saw the ultimate sacrifice in front of him, he considered it joy because of what it would bring for you and for me. But what does that mean? We've got to lay down our own power. We've got to lay down our own ability. We've got to humble ourselves in the presence of God to take hold of what God has for us. So if we want to be devoted, if we want to value devotion in our life, we've got to be humble. We have to be a student. We have to trust that his truth is superior to ours. We have to trust that he knows what he's doing. When that thing is super comfortable and super enjoyable, but it says we got to let go of it, we have to humble ourselves and say, I'm trusting in your way. I'm trusting that you know better. Once again, it's a fight. It's a fight for your soul. I love what comes next. The heading of the chapter, the next section of the chapter is God disciplines his children. And all of us are like, oh, can't wait for this. This is going to be good. He goes on, he says, in your struggles against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your own blood. And have you completely forgotten this word of encouragement that addresses you as a father addresses his son? This next part links to Revelation chapter 3 when Jesus is talking to the church in Laodicea. There's lots of details there. We can come back to another time. He says, my son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you, because the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as his son. Endure hardship as discipline, because God is treating you as his children. For what children are not disciplined by their father. If you are not disciplined and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are not legitimate, not true sons and daughters at all. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? And they disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, but God disciplines us for good in order that we may share in his holiness. I know that that's a lot to read at one time, but that last sentence is so critically important. But God disciplines us for our good. If you grew up with a narrative about God that God disciplines you because he's punitive, or he just doesn't like what you're doing, I would beg with you that you would throw out that piece of your theology. And you would take your attention and you would point it to the writer of Hebrews and the perspective they had. No, God disciplines you for our good so that we can share in God's distinctness. Because God's distinctness is where life is found. In God's way, freedom is uncovered and grabbed onto and held onto for the duration of our life. So the two things that feed our devotion to trusting God, to trusting Jesus as the pioneer and the perfecter of our faith, is being humble and being disciplined. And I know this is a little bit drama, and I'm super drama. If you know me, I know it and I accept it, and it's just part of my life. But I hope that this visual kind of gets stuck in your mind every day when you walk out of your room, every day when you walk out of your house. That devotion has got to be your priority. Devotion with God Almighty, Creator God, Yahweh, the Lord that provides for you. Devotion with him has got to be your highest priority. And the way that you feed devotion is by choosing to be humble and choosing to be really, really disciplined. Because there are so many distractions, there's so many temptations. I love what Jesus tells his disciples in Matthew chapter 26 when he finds them sleeping. He's like, wake up and pray that you don't fall into temptation. Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, wake up and pray that you don't fall into sin. He said, no, pray that you don't fall into temptation, because temptation is what comes first. And the only way that you're going to not be tempted is by staying really, really devoted, by staying in close proximity with the Lord, with him, with the author and the perfecter of everything that we experience in this world. I love what the way that the writer of Hebrews lands this section. He says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. I think that's so important for you and I to remember. It's going to be painful. It's not going to seem pleasant. But later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Who have been trained by it. Righteousness and peace. In other words, if you want your life to be full of righteousness, if you want your life to be full of peace, you've got to be trained by being devoted to Jesus. And we're gonna do that at Overflow this semester. We're gonna try really hard to train you in this way, to equip you in this way. But at the end of the day, we can't do it for you. It's got to be a decision that you make. And not just a decision tonight at 8:52. A decision that you make tomorrow morning at 8 or noon, whenever you get up. Some of you are like, yeah, I get up at noon. I have a 7-month-old kid, so I get up at 2 in the morning. But it's a decision that you're gonna have to make tomorrow. Some of you are gonna have to make that decision tonight. When you get home, you lay in your bed and you think about your day and you think about who you are, you think about your identity, you think about the activity and the things that are filling your life. You're gonna have to make that decision. Say, I'm gonna be devoted. And the way I'm gonna be devoted is I'm gonna be humble. And I'm gonna be incredibly disciplined. And when it's not pleasant, and when it's hard, I'll go back to Hebrews 12 and I'll remember that someone predicted that, but they said it is worth it. There is a better version of reality. There is a better version of life for you. And I love the last thing that he says, therefore strengthen your feeble arms and your weak knees. Make level paths for your feet so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. I think this is an invitation for us to consider what's populating our life. The question that I hope sticks with you tonight is, what's got to go? What's in front of you right now that you have got to throw off? What's got your attention right now? What fear is plaguing your mind every moment of every day that it's got to go? What habit? What website? What sexual activity? What gossip? What hatred? It's got to go. We all have them. I guarantee it. We need each other. God didn't make you to do life alone. In fact, he said doing life alone is not good. But failing to see the life that was intended for you guarantees you missing out on the best version of life imaginable. And as we embark on a new year together as a family and as individuals, my prayer, I've been on my knees praying this over you, is that you would stand up and fight. That you would know that victory has been won, but there's still some fighting left to do. And all the little moments along the way. I'd love to invite everybody to just bow your head and close your eyes just for a moment. I think it could be easy for us to hear a message like this and to read Hebrews 12 and to think about 1 John chapter 3 and to kind of just write it off as like, okay, that felt convicting, or that felt like something I need to pay attention to, but I've kind of got my life in order the way that I want it. It could be easy to walk out of here tonight and not do anything different. But I just wonder, how many of us in the room say, it's gonna be hard and it's gonna be painful, but I'm taking Jesus at his word that his way is better, and I'm deciding to mark 2023 as a year that I fight for the life that I have been given. If that's you, would you mind just standing where you are? If you're saying 2023 is going to be the year that I get in the fight for my life, that I'm saying I'm not okay with the status quo. I'm not okay with the sin pattern anymore. I'm not okay with that area of darkness in my life anymore. I'm not okay with that anxiety or that depression anymore. I'm fighting for the life that God has for me. One more opportunity to stand. For everybody standing, just look directly at me really quick. You have been freed to fight. God has secured victory for you. It's time you fight with everything you got. This matters, but don't you dare do it alone. Don't do it. We're here for each other. And better than that, God is with you everywhere that you go. I'd love to invite you just to pray where you are and ask God to embolden you, to give you courage, for your soul to be quiet and to sense his presence and sense his goodness. I'm going to be quiet for a moment. Just pray in your own heart and your own mind that you would have the ability to fight for your life. Jesus, we know that you just heard everyone in this room and everyone watching online that prayed and asked for your strength and asked for your courage. God, we know that you heard every single one of us. We know that you are a personal, proximate, caring, and passionate God. God, we pray that a new level of faith would be emboldened, that it would rise up not only in this room, but in every room that every person in this room walks into. God, I pray that 2023 would be no ordinary year, that we would declare war for our life, knowing that you have declared ultimate victory over the power of the devil. God, we entrust our hearts, we entrust our soul to you. God, I pray earnestly that we would sense your love and that we would trust that you truly are more than enough. God, we love you. And everyone said together, in Jesus' name, amen.